This situation keeps getting crazier. As we know, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has went out on a podcast and called out the Jays front office, but we now have new reports from Jays reporters, Ben Nicholson-Smith, and others revealing some more details and insight into what these comments mean at this very moment surrounding Vladdy and the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to break down those new reports, discuss what it means going forward, as well as dive into those comments a little bit deeper as we're starting to gain some new insight surrounding what he exactly said and what it means going forward. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button if you're a part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel. Our goal is to hit 15K before Christmas. If you're enjoying the daily content, make sure to hit that button. Thank you guys for your continued support. And let's get into it without further ado. There's a lot to go over today. And ladies and gentlemen, I obviously had the video yesterday on the big bombshell piece of information and news that dropped regarding Vladdy calling out the front office, calling out Ross Atkins, revealing that he isn't happy at all with his offer. And now we have new reports coming in from Ben Nicholson-Smith chiming in the whole situation, a bunch of other things as well. This is getting crazy. So Ben Nicholson-Smith actually spoke with the people who made the podcast with Vladdy and all these different things, Abriendo Sports, and said Vladdy Jr. has been discussing a possible extension with the Blue Jays and is, quote, ready to go, end quote, on long-term deal for the right offer. Also, he says he doesn't plan to negotiate after the first full day of spring training, and the Jays front office knows this. So this is a report from Ben Nicholson-Smith kind of diving deeper into what Vladdy was saying. Again, they've been discussing a possible extension, and Vladdy is ready to go for the right offer. So this reveals a lot. And as we know in the report that dropped, in his podcast that Vladdy made, he basically said, hey, the Jays haven't even given me close to the right offer, so I'm obviously not going to accept it. And it wasn't the podcast that Vladdy made. Sorry, it was the podcast that he was on from Abriendo Sports, if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's interesting now because you look at it from Ben Nicholson-Smith, who's a very notable reporter. There's a good and there's a bad side of this. The good side is they are discussing a possible extension, which we covered and which Ken Rosenthal reported a week or so ago. And then he's also ready to go on a long-term extension. So for the right offer, he is willing. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is willing for the right offer to make a deal and sign the contract right now. This means a couple things. One, the Toronto Blue Jays front office needs to offer Vladimir Guerrero Jr. the amount of money he wants. If he's willing to sign the contract now, that could change as the season goes on. His hard deadline is the first day of spring training. Once that starts, he's not going to extend. So you have until the first day of spring training to go out there and to make this deal happen. Is it going to be $400 million? Yeah. Is it going to be $500 million? Yeah, probably. And is he worth that money? Probably not. But if you need to do that in order to get him before that first full day of spring training, which is when this deadline for Vladdy is, you have to go out and do it. We come off of a season last year. He's coming off a 940 OPS season. Clearly, and there's a reason that Vladdy is making all this public. We know he said he was offered $150 million over 7 years after 2021. He made that public. He added the team hasn't been close to the amount he's looking for. He'll be willing to negotiate until the first day of camp. The 340 offer was after Soto's pursuit. He clearly he knows what he's doing. He's a very smart guy. He is doing this to put pressure on the front office. If the front office they're now under fire by everybody. Fans are talking about it. Media is talking about it. Reporters are talking about it. What that means is that it is now public that Vladdy is A, willing to sign a contract with the Jays, and B, that the front office hasn't given them the amount of money that he wants. This means that ultimately, if the Jays go ahead and they don't extend him and he leaves in free agency next year, or even if they don't extend him by spring training, the front office is going to get the blame for it. Now, do I think he's worth the amount of money that he is going to be requesting? I don't think so. But the Jays have no choice. They have no choice. They got themselves into this situation. They're going to let Bichette walk in all likelihood. They'll probably trade him. You cannot let the same thing happen to your homegrown star. The outrage in Toronto from the fans, from everybody, the media reporters, if they let Vladimir Guerrero Jr. leave, or even if they trade him at this point, the team will be up in arms. We talk about all the moves they can make. Santander is still on the table at the time of recording. Teoscar, Corbin Burns, all these different things. If they want to build a competitive team, the first thing you do is extend Vladdy. And again, according to Ken Rosenthal, they are in talks with Vladdy that will buy out his final year of arbitration. Ben Nicholson-Smith confirms this, which is all good things, and it's all good news. But the time now for the Toronto Blue Jays to go out and do this deal, it needs to happen, and it needs to happen very, very quickly. And again, we think about the fan outrage that came out following his coming out and saying about this, whether it's from Johnny, whether it's from Josh Goldberg. Obviously, the 7 years, 150 is not going to get accepted. Like, what are we doing? There's no world it gets accepted. But what could happen is that he obviously is going to get offered a ton more now. We saw reports come out that he was offered 340 million. And this is interesting from Brandon Wall here. Making this public is a smart move from Vlad. Again, from Brandon Wall. All it's going to take from the Jays side is money. They've demonstrated they have it with offers to Soto and Ohtani. Every day they wait, price is going to go up. We've seen they had that extra, the safety blanket, or I guess not the safety blanket, the special occasion budget, which the special budget, obviously the allocation for Juan Soto, for Shohei Ohtani. If you're Vladdy, you're saying, give me some of that special budget. You just offered Soto $765 million or $760 million, or 700 at the very least, depending on who you trust, whether that's Heyman or BNS. But like at this point, Ben Nicholson Smith, they said they offered Soto $700 million. You're offering, or John Heyman says you're offering Soto however much more. Give Vladdy the amount of money he wants. It's not going to be 700. And he also had this very interesting quote. My value changed 3 weeks ago. Shohei changed the system for Soto, and Soto changed the system for me. He is openly admitting, which is very true. Shohei Ohtani, obviously record-breaking contract. Then Juan Soto was offered $1 billion Canadian. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not worth, and he's not the player that Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani is or are at this point, but he is a very good generational player, at least for the Toronto Blue Jays, a homegrown talent. And if they do not extend Vladdy knows they are screwed in the sense of the fan base is going to, hate on them, call them out, all this stuff. But even from a team perspective, a team construction perspective, they have nowhere to go if they don't get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. back. If he comes out and he has another mid-year, let's say 780 OPS, 750 OPS next year, then sure, you might have a conversation about how good he's going to be. But it's just not going to happen. His peripherals are some of the best in baseball. He's a very solid defender at times at first base. Yes, first basemen historically do not get as much money. We saw Christian Walker sign the other day, 3 years, $60 million. He hits for a very respectable OPS and OPS plus. But because he's a first baseman, he's not as young as Vladdy. I'm not saying compare the 360 contract to Vladdy's whatsoever. My point is that the money that first basemen get are automatically diminished. It's just how it goes. Christian Walker's nowhere near the player that Vladdy is, nowhere near the age Vladdy is, any of these things. Not comparing them at all, so but I'm just saying that Vladdy at first base, obviously his value is not going to be the same as Soto or Shohei Ohtani, but by him saying this, he's absolutely right, and they have to extend him, and they have to do it fast. They've offered 340. Get the deal done at 450 or whatever it's going to take, because do I think it's a good business move? Probably not. But man, oh man, are they screwed if they don't do it. They have no choice. They have to go out and give Vladimir Guerrero Jr. whatever amount he wants. And they put themselves in this position, and Vladdy knows exactly what he's doing by making all of this public. And it's going to be a scary next few weeks, months, because he gave him a hard timeline of the first day of spring training. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep you up to date, folks, with all the latest news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Tons of things are going. Happy holidays again as well to those who are celebrating. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news. Thank you guys for watching. And let me know down below what your thoughts are on this ridiculous, absurd situation with Vladdy.